Hi, I'm Nick Shell, and I do whatever I want. And today, in my video, we're going to look at a comment I recently received from one of my other videos. Because in my world, my comments grow on trees, literally. So the video I made was called, "It's Okay to Tease Balding Men, Says Society." Now our good friend Robert commented, quote, "I don't like it either, but yeah, creating an anti-bullying campaign for balding guys online with hashtags, etc., that's probably not the right approach." He goes on to say, "Just owning it is the best way to handle it with humor and grace," end quote. So what he's referencing there is, in the video I did say something to the effect of, it would be simply laughable for men who are experiencing balding and therefore receiving some teasing from it. It would be laughable and ironic and a paradox for there to be some kind of like Twitter handle movement, you know, no more bullying bald guys or whatever it might be. That would just be a joke. People would not take that seriously. Why? And I had mentioned to the fact that balding is a predominantly masculine thing that happens. I get it that women do experience some receding and they do experience some thinning, especially if you visit a nursing home. You know, you'll see that, and that's a good point. But overall, most women don't have to worry about, am I going to go bald? Women, for the most part, don't have to worry about that. Men, that's a different story. And so it is a masculine trait to lose your hair. That's a masculine thing. So therefore, it's like this. This is my perception of how society perceives men who are losing their hair. I think the perception is that man is losing his hair. That man is by default masculine. And because he's a masculine man, and one of the traits of a manly man is that he's emotionally intelligent, I know that I can't hurt his feelings if I point that out. That's an assumption society makes about men that are losing their hair. Okay? So therefore, people assume, of all people in the world that you can possibly tease, we're the one group of people who will not get offended or hurt by it. They think that it changes our emotions none at all. Now what they don't know is, the secret that you and I know, is that it actually does bother us, or at least it used to, before we began truly embracing that as our new identity. Now, I keep making this mistake of thinking that my audience is going to stop growing. I thought surely I won't get it past 1,000 because there's only about maybe 1,000 men in the world that are actually worried about hair loss and would actually watch videos about it. But instead, my subscribership is growing more rapidly than it was ever now, which tells me this is a universal thing. And I think it's a well-kept secret that most people don't realize, that it is a process to deal with your hair loss. I'm sure there are some men that are like, okay, I'm bald, I'm going to shave it off, I'm done with it. But I think for probably the majority of us, there's somewhat of a learning curve where we have to get through accepting this, which I believe I'm pretty far along in there. I'm not worrying about losing my hair at this point, because at this point, I mean, I'm 35, I've still got this much hair, but I mean, this is where I'm at right now. And okay, you know, that's who I am, and I'm okay with it. But I still want to help other people, so I make these videos to help men that are younger than I, maybe who have lost more hair, find ways to, you know, accept this. But still, with all that being said, the outside world doesn't understand that, and they're never going to, and they don't need to. It's not their problem. They got enough going on. So they're definitely not worried about us losing our hair. They assume that because we're masculine, that it doesn't bother us. So actually, if you think about it, that's actually maybe a good thing, that people assume that we're that strong, that we're that emotionally strong, and we can't be bullied. That's maybe a good thing if they assume that about us, the way I see it, the way I look at it. Well, the other thing that I have to consider too, I think it's worth pointing out, and we've talked about it in these videos before as well, is that look at the group of men that are most likely to lose their hair, especially at a younger age. Would there be anyone who would actually argue the fact that men of European descent are most likely to lose their hair at an earlier age in general? So, me being one, I mean, I'm not 100% European, I am part Hispanic, but still though, I'm I'm part of the demographic. I'm part of the demographic that ultimately society doesn't feel bad for. People don't feel bad for, and well, am I being too politically incorrect and honest by saying this? Especially if you're a straight white male, no one feels sorry for you. And I think even Dana Carvey in his recent Netflix stand-up comedy special mentions this. He talks about being a straight white 60-year-old man. No one feels bad for him. I think it's the same thing though. I mean, it's a demographic that the world assumes can take care of themselves. So that's an assumption that they make about us. If you're a straight white male, you can't be bullied because nothing about you can possibly offend you. I think that's almost something they really think about in their mind, that we can't be offended or hurt, and that because the one thing you can make fun of us for, which is losing our hair at an earlier age than maybe other men, because that's the one thing, but that's so masculine. So what, you're going to make fun of a masculine trait of a group of men who you can't offend to begin with? See, I think that's the irony in it. I think that's why people think they get a pass and it's okay to offend men who are experiencing hair loss. Now again, I'm not saying it's okay, but I think we have to, in our emotional intelligence, be able to understand where society is coming from and thinking that it's okay to tease us or to point it out. They think that we are truly that unoffendable demographic of men. So, since we can't be offended, since we are in theory, the least bullied demographic there is, therefore it's okay. Because if anybody can handle it, it's that group of men. Those masculine, manly men that are in charge of their emotions, and they're so manly that they're losing their hair because, man, that's masculine. That's a manly thing to lose your hair. So, like Robert said, what can we really do? We can focus that attention on helping people who are actually being bullied. Well, Robert didn't say that, but he said handling it with humor and grace. So yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me that I think society will see us as hypocrites if we were to ever say, hey, stop bullying us because we're losing our hair. Because of all of the people who truly are bullied, look at this one group of people we thought that couldn't be offended, and now they're saying they're offended. They're saying that they're hurt. Well, why don't those men spend their time and energy on actually helping somebody else instead of caring about themselves? Why don't they care about somebody else and focus that time and energy on that? And it's funny because even myself, people accuse that of me. Before people get used to watching my videos, they say, Nick, you're obsessed with your hair. Why don't you focus on something that matters? People say that. What they don't realize is I am. I've accepted my hair loss. It's fine. I'm here to help other young men or men accept it so that they can move on with their life and help other people. So I am helping other people. But ultimately, I think society deems it selfish if they see a man talking about his hair loss and psychologically sorting through that. They see that as a selfish thing because you, of all people, shouldn't be offended and you should be helping other people. So that's why, in my opinion, any kind of social media movement, any kind of anti-bullying movement in favor of men who are losing their hair would just be a complete joke. Because we're the fire you can't burn. We're the one demographic that can't be hurt. That's the way people perceive us. So ultimately, we have to live up to that expectation because, and that's the funny thing, we're perceived as unhurtable as far as emotionally, or we're unbullyable. So therefore, if we spend any effort saying, hey, you can't say that about me, that's not right, you can't tease me for going bald, then automatically we go from here to way down here. Now we become selfish and self-centered because we're focused on that instead of helping other people. I believe this is the psychology behind why it's okay to tease men for balding, and why ultimately any kind of anti-bullying campaign for balding would be a complete joke. Please let me know what you think. I think there's a lot of stuff packed in this 10-minute video. If I left anything out or if you disagree, whatever, let's keep talking about it. I think this is interesting stuff.